Today is Friday, June 16, 2023. It's 8 a.m. We're in the central jury room of the Hood County Justice Center at 1200 West Pearl Street in Granbury, Texas. And the purpose of our meeting here today is to conduct budget hearings for the next fiscal year according to the schedule that's been copied and posted below. So the first person up here is Development and Compliance, Mr. Clint Head.
Morning, Judge. Morning, Commissioner.
Ellis, you can go ahead and start.
Mine's pretty simple. I asked for a little bit more for vehicle maintenance for the increased cost of oil changes. And then for assistant position, because, as everybody knows, when I resigned, it dawned on me if I was killed in a car wreck or something, this county would be in horrible shape. Nobody in there to know what was going on or what I was doing or how to pick up. So we added that, and that's pretty much it.
Anybody have any questions of Mr. Head? Everybody's seen his proposals, I'm sure.
So do you have any data for to have an assistant? I'm trying to get my hands around while, I know what kind of workload we're going to have all of a sudden.
I know what my wife pays her assistant, and then I thought about the day after I left high school, went to a job the next day where I made $52,000 a year, and that was 30 years ago. So back then, the highest rent you had was $750. If you think about gas, $20 worth of gas costs you $75 now. $60 worth of groceries is $150. You just think about the inflation. So, you're going to get what you pay for. So.
Well, I think he was asking about what would the workload be.
Oh, be my assistant. I'm going to need an assistant. Floodplain administrator, somebody that can answer the floodplain questions, somebody answer real estate questions.
So is there work happening now that's not getting done?
The way I understood it, maybe share with y'all.
Is there work now that's not getting done?
No. I do it all. But, it could be more efficient. You have a lot of calls, a lot of people, a lot of businesses want freebies instead of hiring a surveyor or something to do it. They keep you on the phone all day. So if you had somebody just to field those calls, so I'm not on the phone all the time.
About how many phone calls do you get a day, kind of on an average? I know it varies, but...
Well, when I'm in there, it's quite a few, so.
Hey, Becky, do you have a tally about, I'm curious, how many new employees are being asked for? Where are we at with that? 26 or 27?
So a bulk of that is in the sheriff's department. What is there 14, 16 in the sheriff's department? 16, and then about 10 for the rest of the county?
4 in the DA, 2 for district clerk, 2 for TAC. Just trying to think of 1 for animal controls for the sheriff. So I can think of
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Anybody have anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Who answers your phone when you're out in the, is your phone just not getting answered?
No, most of the time the best way to reach me is email, but now it's they got the voicemail fixed, so it goes to voicemail.
Is it possible that you could share an admin with another office?
I guess if I had somebody that close.
To answer the phones and direct, so maybe that's a possibility?
I'm just speaking for me with the almost 6 months of time. I think that Brenda, and for whatever time Beth fills in for Brenda, if Brenda's not there, I think she's doing a great job. So from my perspective, I don't think we need an admin.
That's fine.
That's just me.
The only reason I want one is because thinking about if something happened to me, if I die, or, the ability to be able to take off and go on vacation without having to worry about closing that office.
I forgot the constable wants 2 employees, constable 2, constable 4 wants 1.
So getting close,
Sorry,
so closer to 30 then?
I think so.
How many employees do we have right now, total, right now?
Where's Melissa? I'm over like 325, 330, somewhere in there.
It was closer to 362 is what's on the payroll report.
That's part-time people also.
Oh, thank you.
You know, we look, when we budget for insurance, we come close to our full-time number because with absences, you don't want to budget the whole amount. You don't need it. So we just, but yeah, we have a lot of part-time.
30 part-time employees?
You have a bunch at the library. There are a lot of part-time employees. You just have to think about all the offices that have, like JP's have part-time. There's a lot of offices that have part-time. So yes, 30 would not surprise me.
Is that included in that 362 number?
Yes, that would be included in the 362.
Mr. Criswell, did you have something to say?
Yes, sir. Morning, Judge, Commissioners. Now, before I get started, Clint, was there also a salary increase from 75 to 82,000 built into your budget?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a situation here, and this is from a leadership standpoint, where we had an employee tender their resignation and then get taken back with a majority vote on this Commissioners Court. And now the same employee is asking for an 8.5, or, you know, going from 75,000 to 82,000, plus having an admin assistant at $45,000 a year for development, compliance, and ditches, or compliance, development and compliance.
And floodplain.
And floodplain, sure. And when this employee came back, we sent a message to the rest of the employees that I think we heard some yesterday, when Miss Jeannie Stacks got up here and said, hey, I've got another job offer elsewhere, and you know, if y'all don't give me this raise, I'm going to take it. You know, to that I would say good riddance. And this type of action on behalf of the Commissioners Court has inspired this strong-arm style of negotiation. And if you think this is going to be the last person to come up here and ask for this, I think you would be sorely mistaken. Thank you.
First of all, that's what I turned down to stay here. It's not what I didn't, you know, I didn't come up here and present it like Jeannie did and force y'all. That's what I turned down to stay here.
Anybody else have any other question?
Well, I just want to throw in that I'm reaching back to yesterday, and maybe I just misperceived it. I can do that.
And he said 8%, isn't inflation right now 10%?
Yeah, and
Probably more, probably 13% actually.
well, so I'm reaching back to yesterday, and I saw what I saw and heard what I heard. And I have to agree with Mr. Criswell on this point. The environmental health director walked up to that podium and basically she's put in for a budget for her salary that's more than the commissioners make. And we appoint that position. And I worry about having a precedent set, but I also heard basically if we don't give her the money, she's gone. And I have a whole lot of problem. Of course, you know, there's no secret that I voted against your coming back here because you did tender your resignation. And, you know, from the private sector, that would have been it. And you know that too. So I think we need to be mindful of this because we're being, right now, if you look at the entire picture, 30 employees being asked for across the board. At 300, if we've got a little over 300 employees full-time, which means that they're getting FICA and retirement and health benefits and all that, which I'm not.
If we can figure out a way for me to share an assistant, that's fine.
Well, let me finish because I'm on a roll here, if you don't mind. You know, we're going to have to put the brakes on somewhere. And so I'm just laying that out here because right now we're kind of being asked for the moon, and we're not being asked. By the way, I want to make that clear. You're asking the taxpayers, and not you, I'm not pointing you out by yourself. The taxpayers are the ones that are being asked for this. And how would you feel, let me ask you this, how would you feel if an appraiser over at the Appraisal District, I'm talking about a person that comes out to your property where you live and takes pictures and does an appraisal, and later on comes up to this podium and brags about how much money he's brought in, which basically is government gun to your head money. And I heard that yesterday standing at the podium from our tax assessor, bragging about how much money that comes into her office that she has absolutely nothing to do with. So we need to think about the taxpayers here. We need to remember that the taxpayers are who hired us, the taxpayers. And I'm not getting on you personally.
I know.
I'm just making that point now, because I'm hearing local governments are spending, city, school districts, county in Texas, and I did a study on this about 4 or 5 years ago. At that time, we were the second largest out-of-control local spending state in the whole nation. So I keep throwing this, I'm just trying to keep things into perspective here, and because I know people need what they think they need, but we are still we're talking about somebody else's money. And so we're the stewards of that money. So I'm just making that point here because I just want everybody to be mindful of that.
I had a question. Does working for the county strip us of our citizenship or make us second-class citizens? I know it didn't lower my taxes any. I'm a taxpayer too. None of us caused the prolonged moratorium, which inflated the values, supply and demand. I predicted what it would do when it was put into place. My taxes ain't been lowered. I'm a taxpayer too. But you got to pay a sustainable wage. The whole end game of monopoly is when nobody can afford to stay on the board anymore, and then you restart. Lower the values, lower the price of food, lower the price of gas, and you can lower wages.
I agree with that statement. You do all that, I agree with you.
But you get what you pay for. I mean, if people leave, then you got other people that are overworked. They get less service because these taxpayers, these citizens, want their services. They want everything done for them. So when they're not getting that service, they're going to be mad too. But they want them to do it when these people are making a wage that makes them be on government assistance. That's taxpayer money too.
Okay, let me put some numbers on people. I've already addressed the fact a couple times, I'm going to address it again. In 1970, when the Granbury Lake was formed, the total county population was 6,610 people. We are now at over 66,000. And based on the report from the Texas Commission on Jail Standards, April the 19th of 23, by 2030, they are saying we will be at 87,000. That is a 20,000 increase in 6 years from where we are today. That equates to, if you do an average, 3,300 per year for that 6. It also says that we will be at 127,000 plus by 2040. That means we will double the total population of Hood County in 16 years. Those are big numbers. When you go from 6,610 to over 66,000 today, and one report says we're over 68,000. Anytime you have more population, you have more services required, which means you have to have more money spent, period. That's it.
And I'm not going to mention no areas, but we got people that moved here from areas that expect a lot more than people that were naturally born here.
You want to say something? Mr.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. And I did mention this yesterday, I don't believe Mr. Head was in here at the time, but using inflation as a justification does a disservice to the people with the least means in this county. Now, it's often said that governments can be judged by how they take care of the people that can't take care of themselves or that are the most vulnerable, whether that's in the womb or, you know, people that are living here in poverty right now. And when you're using inflation as a justification to increase people's salaries by 8.5%, if you're losing sight of the effect that that has on the price of rent and the price of the average homeowner's property tax bill in Hood County, I think you're doing a major disservice. Now, Jack, just a second ago, you said that whenever the population grows, we need to bring in more money, and you're absolutely right. But you don't have to bring in more money from the people that are already here. You can keep that average homeowner's property tax bill roughly the same. That's the closest way to measure it to keep it fair. You can keep that the same and still have some level of growth within this government. It doesn't have to be rollback elections like were being talked about yesterday or 40% budget increases.
One of the things that you seem to be missing in some of the statements you've made outside of here is this is a budget hearing. This is not the final say on who gets how much.
I said it's not the final say, and I said it's a hearing, and it's important for people to take part in this process because, as you know, sitting on the dais the last few years, very few people attend these things, and this is when a lot of these conversations start. And if these problems don't get nipped in the bud, then we get what we've got the last, you know, couple decades, really.
Ms. Brown?
Thank you.
I feel like we're getting way off topic. Can we get back to the budget? That he has asked for something. It's up to y'all to decide later who gets what. Can we just get back on topic? Thank you.
There you go.
I want to.
You know, I tried to say that yesterday, and it wandered all over, so I think this is kind of a free-for-all.
Quick response to the inflation thing he was talking about. It does affect, when it affects the employees that work here as property taxes, they got to have money to pay those property taxes or the county's going to be selling their property.
Okay. Anything else on development? If not, let's go to CPS. Don't let that intimidate you.
That's fine.
How
Good
are y'all
morning.
doing?
Good morning, Your Honor. My name's Tammy, and Commissioners, my name's Tammy McGuire. I am President of CPS Board of Directors, and this is Linda Durant, who's Vice President of the board. In addition, both of us actually also sit on the state board and participate. Thank you all for your participation and support for our children of the county, and thank you, Judge, for coming to our child abuse awareness event we had in April. Very successful, and a lot of awareness was reached in the month of April throughout the city, so we're very, very pleased. We are asking for the same amount. We've been able to be some creative endeavors with our nonprofit arm. We don't have an office, we don't have an executive director. Majority of our funds that you provide, we are the fiduciary responsibility for managing those funds on your behalf. Majority of it goes to clothing allowance for our children, and in some cases emergencies. A child gets taken in the middle of the night and needs things, right? And that's a mad dash to Walmart to get diapers or clothes or shoes. I mean, there are many times that I'm sure you hear from law enforcement, they're taking children from homes with zip. And so those emergencies, that's what a lot of that funding goes to. In addition, we don't have enough foster homes here in Hood County, so a lot of our children are sent to other areas. The good news is that they generally go with a family member, and that's called kinship care. Kinship care is a little different. Those families don't get the same amount that if a certified foster home does. However, studies have proven these children do phenomenally better if they're with a family member, and in many cases that could be New Jersey or California or whatever, but they're still wards of our county, and we have to oversee their activities and everything. Another thing that we've been using funds for recently, we've had a couple of issues, and we bring in, this is where our nonprofit comes into play, a lot more requests for driver's ed. And so if they're here in the county, we can go to the school principals and they help cover or sponsor that child or student in driver's ed. But outside the county, we don't have those relationships. We try to reach out to those schools, but in some cases, we're not successful. So as a grandparent taking care of their teenage kids, that's a sticker shock that it's $400 for driver's ed. But for all safety, it's best, obviously they need to have driver's ed. So we've been creative and working with a lot of different groups. I have to say in the last 2 years since COVID, I've seen a much larger cooperation with all the groups in town, all the different nonprofits, where if we can't do it, we go to somebody else and vice versa. So we have a big email chain through the Chamber of Commerce where we help each other out. And with the churches are a part of that as well. So maybe somebody needs $400 for a new washing machine. We're going to give $200, this church is $100, and this church is $100. So it's been working out really well. And I really would say that it's been, since the pandemic, we've developed that stronger network with each other and relationships to solve the needs to cover the children in our county. And as you know, summertime hits, we have a lot more cases when school starts back up. Whenever there's a school break, there's a big significant spike in cases reported. Children self-report. So we always predict and staff appropriately and literally clear the decks for investigations when that occurs. Children who self-report. But our average intake is still about the same. I'd say we've seen a slight increase recently. I'd say our monthly caseload is right or just shy of 80. So it was anywhere between 60 to 80. It jumps to the high side in the again, when things spike. September, the biggie. And obviously January, kids come back from break. That's a big one too. So having access to food in the summertime is very important. And so there's a lot of groups that we work together with to make sure children are fed. So
Sponsoring for summer camps for.
yeah, so that's another thing we do to keep kids active and doing other things and making sure that they feel like normal, right? And that, so if they're in a foster home, we want to make sure that they're doing other activities. It isn't fair that their children are in baseball or dance class and this child doesn't get to do anything. So, and that's another thing we do with our nonprofit is we make sure that we find a spot for that child to have an activity for the summer or over the holidays and do something that they really enjoy doing. And another thing that we do, it started, is our care portal. As you know, these children are wards of the state and have much more significant privacy restrictions than an average citizen because they are wards of the state. So we can't put on a Facebook, hey, does anybody have size 10 soccer shoes? So that's another thing we've created the care portal to share information between the foster parents, the caseworkers, and these families.
Y'all do a great job. It was wonderful to see how everybody worked together at the deal that we had at Hewitt Park.
Thank you, sir.
It was very successful. Y'all do a fabulous job and help out a lot of children. You really, really do.
Thank you.
We're very cognizant of that and want to do all we can to help y'all in return. So
Thank you. So again, we're not asking for an increase. We know everything is what it is. So we're hoping to still use the funds that we get, or that level of funding. So, thank you, sir.
I have
Thank
a
you.
question.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, actually two. One related directly to this, but another one just, you kind of mentioned this when you were talking, that when there's a break in school, you see spikes in cases. Do you have a chart over the last 3 years that shows your caseload? Because
Yes.
I really worried about that during COVID with kids being
was
forced
bad.
to be out of school.
It was bad.
And now I have someone that has the real numbers than me just saying, I bet there was a spike in cases and not really knowing.
We do.
Would you mind sharing that?
I need to check that it's, well, yes, you're a commissioner,
Okay.
so yes, I can share it with you, but I couldn't, if she asked, I couldn't share it with her. So
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
I will get that for you.
Okay, and then what other sources of funding do you have besides this money from the county?
Well, that's it. We are But on the nonprofit side, several of us have gotten creative and working with different groups. Those funds are less than $5,000 a year, and that's that's on a great day.
Some generosity of some churches.
And golf tournaments, you know.
Okay, so fundraisers. and-
Yeah, fundraising, and we all have full-time jobs. We don't have an executive director. We meet once a month, so we don't have a lot of ability to fundraise on a big, grand scale.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Thank you.
We
Y'all do.
appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank y'all both very much for what you do. Okay. Now we got the Child Advocacy Center. Miss Margaret, good to see you.
While she's walking up, I'm just going to throw in here that as of yesterday, I guess you guys, has nothing to do with you. This has to do with the inflation rate that we were talking about while Mr. Head was up. You know, you guys know that the federal funds rate was held steady because inflation was going down. The last 12 months, the costs have climbed by 4.5% alone, and food prices 6.4%. So those are the inflation numbers.
Thank you.
Yeah, pull the mic down for you.
I will have to do that.
Yeah.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. My name is Margaret Cohenauer with the Paluxy River Children's Advocacy Center. Sheriff Deeds has been on the board with the Children's Advocacy Center since 2005, I believe. 2009. So he wasn't here when we opened the doors, but he's been here almost ever since. But I wanted to visit with y'all just a minute because I know most people know what we do. We do forensic interviews for children who've allegedly been sexually abused, and the idea is to bring those children under one roof or law enforcement CPS. They get interviewed one time and versus several, which over the years were fragmented interviews. And so our goal is to provide a safe place for them to tell their story one time. And from there, we do a lot of family advocacy. We also provide counseling services. We graduated a little girl a few days ago that had been with us 3 years, and her case just went to court recently or whatever because of COVID and holding out. We stay with those children and families for the length of their cases, and even afterwards, they kind of graduate and put a rock in our hero's garden, but they can come back if they need to. But we feel like they're leaving a lot healthier, they've healed, and whether they got the justice they felt like they deserved or not, we're going to make them feel safer and healthier moving forward. We can't control what the courts can and can't do in all situations. But one thing you might not know that we do is a lot of community education, and we've been doing it a very long time. But Senate Bill 9 really changed things for us a couple of years, and so we have really done a lot to raise awareness and education in the community. We use a curriculum that's evidence-based, evidence-informed. We're not allowed to just walk into a school and educate them. But I wanted to make sure that what we're not doing is sex ed, gender identity, gender neutrality, all those hot topics. We are trying to help children prevent being abused, teaching them body safety. We go from Happy Bear, some of you have seen Happy Bear around town, to high school. But there's a process. We have to go before a SHAC committee. They have to approve our curriculum. Then we take it to a school board. They have to approve the curriculum. Then we send letters through the school home to parents. We have to do it 14 days in advance. We do parent education groups. They can opt out of allowing they have to either opt in or opt out of us allowing children to participate in our classes at the schools. And that's why I brought some information I'm going to leave just for you, some of the myths and facts, because we are in every school in Granbury, but we have a couple of schools where half the kids aren't allowed to come to our presentations. And we do dating violence, we do domestic violence, we touch on sex trafficking, internet safety is huge. So I've included all of our curriculums, what we offer to the schools, on the backside what we offer to the communities, just so you're aware of the importance of reaching those 9 out of 10 children who will never report they've been abused. We're trying to go to the front end, the upstream approach, to prevent it from happening to begin with. We'd all like to just shut down and say we don't have child abuse anymore. We don't need to keep doing this. And the reality is it's happening every day, all the time, and in some cases we just don't get that information. So did want to share that with you, and you may have questions, but Sheriff Deeds, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I was going to introduce you, but you walked faster. I was coming from the
These
back.
people know me from last year, I hope.
The sheriff is actually the president of this, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Yes, and we appreciate him.
For a few years, and been on the board since 2009, so lots of years. And, yeah, what they do at the Children's Advocacy Center is amazing compared to back in the olden days when I was a deputy trying to deal with the kids, and a lot of frustrations, and they smooth things over, get the interviews done. It's a fantastic setup the way the advocacy centers work. And so we got a lot of great people in the county that donate to us to help keep us running, because the grants are out there, and Margaret applies for all the grants and gets the state grants, but then there's still a little lacking to keep everything going. So we're thankful for the good people of it, and we're thankful for whatever the court can do to help us out too, to keep things going, because it's a very valued, necessary thing for the kids of Hood County. And it's not just Hood County, Erath and Somerville, and we've been getting kids coming in from Brownwood and Eastland, and because they know that we're the best with taking care of business. So
Yeah, we appreciate it. We're not asking for more than what we asked for last year. Like the CPS was saying, I don't know if they're still here, but we do work closely with them during Child Abuse Month. But we need to work all year long, and so we work with all the other nonprofits to make sure we're not duplicating services. So I feel like we've got a really good network. But there are some things that we do, and we've been licensed, certified, and trained to do that, and we'd like to continue to offer those services to more children.
When you said some of the kids can't attend at schools, they're not allowed to attend, what does that mean?
We have, the way the Senate bill reads now, and there's efforts to try and change it, is that if a parent has to get a note that says they can opt in or opt out for the children to attend these education classes. A lot of parents, so we're trying to get information out through you, actually ask the newspaper to run a story, and then just educating the community what we don't do, what our purpose is, and what we do, because I think parents are afraid. And so if they see something that says we're going to come in and prevent, talk about child abuse, and we're mandated through the state legislature, the schools are to provide child abuse education, domestic violence, sex trafficking. All the topics are TEA approved, and the legislature says we have to provide them, but all the parents understand. So we're really trying to make sure we get the information out that it's not going to introduce them to anything they don't want their kiddos to know about. Internet safety, sexting, I mean, we're seeing it down at 7 years old. Kids know how to look up words that you wouldn't believe. And so educating these kiddos in different age-appropriate classes, we hope to prevent some of these really nasty things from happening.
Okay, so when you said allowed, it's not the school itself that's preventing it.
No, school's trying to bring them in. It's
the parents opting out.
They have to opt in, so they can't just not respond.
Oh.
So the kids are not allowed to come to those education classes unless we receive an opt-in.
Okay.
So we're going back to all the schools to try and reach all the PTOs and just educate them what we do and what we not, because we're promoting the healing of child abuse, not anything else, and that's what we want to prevent.
Y'all do a marvelous job.
Thank you.
And when you see all those testimonials of the children and everybody else, it's really an uplifting situation to see the difference in lives that y'all do. It's a very important
Well,
job.
thank you. And you're always welcome to come for a tour of the center. We love kind of walking people through the process and then showing them where we have the Heroes Garden, where children get to celebrate that they've reached a point where they can kind of move on, and then also knowing that we're going to be there. We had a little girl also we do little hero rocks. She made one for the forensic interviewer who had worked with her 3 years ago and has stayed in touch with her all along this process. So not only did she put her rock in the garden, she handed one to the interviewer that had been there. And so we're all just sitting there in tears because that's such a wonderful ending to a story, and we feel like this little girl's going to be okay.
Good deal. Anybody have any questions? If not, keep doing the good work.
Thank you. I'll leave some of the information, facts, and myths about the classes we do with her. Thank you, Judge.
Okay. Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you for all you do, Sheriff. How many you're also president on the senior citizen deal up there, aren't you?
yeah, so I was waiting for you to announce it so I could
You're just going to be,
introduce.
I don't
I made it
think,
up your head of.
nobody knows those two ladies. But they don't, nobody knows these two ladies here. Go ahead, Sheriff.
Jeanette Scott, our executive director, and Dana Ruth is one of the board members that came to support us here today. So senior center, I take care of the kids on the younger end of things, but I'm old, so we've got to look out for the old people because I'm there now. So
Yeah.
we do great things up at the senior center. Come on up. I don't know if Commissioner Andrews is old enough to go up there, but
Yeah.
He is.
No, he's,
I'm an old soul.
come up for lunch, come up to check it out, and ride out with a Meals on Wheels delivery driver, and we haven't really done that in a while, so need to do that again, because it's a,
Yeah, and if you ever feel sorry for yourself, all you have to do is go ahead and deliver some Meals on Wheels, and then you'll start feeling a little bit better about yourself. I'll tell you that, and that's the truth. And the food is good. I've eaten up there. The food is good. So you're doing a great job. So let's hear from these two ladies. Let's see what they got to hear about.
Well, as I was telling you earlier, we are experiencing pretty much our maximum capacity for our kitchen. Every month, it seems like we set a record number of meals that we're preparing, either for Meals on Wheels or for just people that come to eat at the senior center. So we're popular, which is a good thing. It's a needed service for the seniors of Hood County. Recently, Donnie Green with COG had a meeting where she discussed their preparedness plan for the time period between 2025 and 2035. And so this goes along with what you're saying about the population increase here. She said we should expect to see 45% more seniors over 60 in that 10 years. And then she also said for seniors 85 and up, we'll see an increase of 113%. So she said that was the most, what she described as dismal preparedness plan she's ever written. And with the population increase, we're seeing that with more meals going out. People hear about us. We're working on our outreach. We're working with United Way to make sure that people that they run across that need our services are directed to us. We're trying to plan for the future right now. We're using the ARPA money to help build something that we can use and have enough capacity for the next 20 years. They built our building in 1999, and I know Tommy Briscoe comes in and delivers 3 times a week, and he probably never expected the kitchen they built to be full to capacity, but we are, and it's time to increase and do it smartly so that the county is taken care of for the next 20 years. We've got a plan for it. So we're asking for the same amount because we just need to we need to be able to meet our needs now, but we are going to be working on a new project.
Good.
So 50 or 75,000?
75,000.
Okay.
That's an increase of 25 over last year.
It's an increase of 25 over last year, but previously, every other year,
Right,
we had
it's
gotten
been the same, yes, ma'am.
75,000.
And I'm not criticizing,
Right.
please. With the increase in food, which we see, the food bill for the jail as an example, we see that increase. So, your food is increasing also. So there's not I understand that side of it. And the fact that the number of people over 60 is increasing in the county, although there is a demographic change in some of the populace, especially in certain developments, going down at the same time, by the time this, 25 to 35, time frame hits, we're also going to be, those that are now under 60 are going to be in that group.
Right.
So, I mean, this is, all the numbers, keep pointing that way. So.
we need to be prepared. So,
I like the idea of having the separate kitchen for the Meals on Wheels. And then the kitchen right there for the residents and the people that come here. That's a very smart, that's a very efficient way to get the food out. And a lot of people that I know deliver Meals on Wheels, and they love it, I guess, because they know what good they do. I mean, I've seen some of the people, and I want to give them money in addition to the food myself, because they were just so appreciative of getting that meal. It's probably the only meal they get that day, probably the only people they talk to that day. It's a very important service that y'all do.
We've started a couple new programs. We have one that's social connection calls. And when we do the assessment for Meals on Wheels, part of that assessment is kind of their, are they dealing with depression? A terminal illness, things like that that are hard to handle. And so those people get put on kind of a special list of people who need more besides just a daily visit. And so with them being in our social connections program, we make an effort to call them more frequently and have conversations. So we have volunteers that come in just for that purpose. And they develop a relationship with these seniors, and they can call them on a regular basis and keep in contact with them, and it makes a difference for them. We heard about one lady who moved away, but she kept her cell phone because she still wanted to get the phone calls. So, we're just trying to find ways that we can keep seniors active. We have kind of pumped up our activities that we offer so that there's more things going on at the senior center. Keep everybody involved. Dana, do you have anything?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. I've been in this county since before I was born. And saying that, it means an awful lot to me. And Hood County is now retirement county. I'm 71 and a half, and being involved with the Hood County Senior Center, it is such an asset to this county. And with our continuous growth and expansion of so many activities and businesses, this place is so important because probably someday, hopefully not in the near future, I'm going to be using Meals on Wheels. And so to make this available and have our kitchen reworked and revamped in such a conservative manner, it's very important that we plan today for tomorrow. And we thank y'all all for your consideration and helping us out again this year, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Do a great job. This is a great organization. And a lot of it is just donated. All the volunteers are up there. There's very few paid employees up there, isn't it? I mean, except for you and the kitchen staff.
We have 14 employees and over 200 volunteers.
That's what I'm saying. It's so askance. 14 paid, 200 volunteers, and that's what makes it happen. That's good. That's good. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Question.
Okay.
You mentioned the ARPA funding and that there was a project going on for that. Could you go into a little detail about what the funding was and how you're using it and what the end result will be?
We got $200,000, and we are going to build a separate building on our property. We have 8 acres, and so we're going to build another building that's going to contain the Meals on Wheels program. Currently, our walk-in freezer is from 1999, the walk-in freezer and cooler, and they're too small. They're adequate for our congregate meals, but not for Meals on Wheels. So we're going to make an area for the new walk-in freezer, new walk-in cooler, the area to prepare the meals, to pack the meals, an area for the staff to be able to be available to all the volunteers as they come in to pick up their routes. So we're kind of taking people that are in our current building, moving them to that building. which will open up more space in our building for activities.
Thanks. I mentioned earlier when we were meeting about my mom in the 70s was, I didn't mention this to you, but she didn't drive herself, so that was also her way to get out, was to go help with Meals on Wheels, but she
Yes.
really enjoyed it.
We find that a lot of our drivers are retired, and it kind of gives them a schedule, gives them a social activity, because the routes start going out around 10:30 in the morning, and the drivers will show up at 9:30, because that coffee time before they go out is important.
Yeah, it's a social, it's, besides giving back, it's a social thing for
Yes.
a lot of people.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeanette.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, good to see Miss Dee Dee out there. Hi, Dorinda. Come on up and let's talk about the transit.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hope everyone's doing well this morning. I'm Dorinda Long. I'm the general manager of the transit system. Danny Smith, company.
Speak into the mic, please.
Danny is my.
Please get in the mic.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
I just didn't want to be right here in front of it. Okay. Danny Smith, he's our contract coordinator. He goes out into the community and builds new partnerships and maintains current partnerships. The transit system is very grateful for Hood County's local grant each year, a grant we've received from Hood County for 28 years. The grants that Hood County have made to the transit system have been vital to our operation and have shown your support, as well as facilitating access to state and federal grants. For those who may not know, TTS is a rural transit district, a nonprofit public transportation provider subsidized by federal and state funding. Each year, the transit system applies for various sections of federal funds, such as 5310 elderly and disabled funding, which we get buses to help supplement the service that the Hood County Committee on Aging is doing for seniors. We get 5339 facility and bus rehab replacement funds, Section 5311 federal funds for administrative and operating expenses, as well as state funding. And though the formula for federal funds has changed slightly, the requirements for matching those funds have not. We still have to match our Section 5311 federal grant 50%. Matching funds are earned by contracting our services with local entities, various state agencies, and sales of advertising on our fleet. The support we get from local government is a key component in the formula used to distribute both state and federal funds to rural transit districts. Though we experienced some ridership setbacks in 2020, we have worked hard to build back that ridership that was lost during the pandemic, and we're projecting an approximate 9% increase over previous years prior to the pandemic. Hiring qualified drivers has become a challenge since federal requirements for acquiring a CDL has changed. The majority of our fleet requires a driver who holds a CDL. However, we are utilizing bus replacement funds to purchase vehicles that do not require a CDL, but yet still have appropriate seating for more than 2 or 3 people. We are still in search of opportunities for CDL training that is approved by the FMCA. The transit system is an asset to the communities it serves in more ways than one, such as providing jobs, but none more important than to be able to continue to give the citizens of this community their independence. The transit system has 18 dedicated employees who love what they do and have genuine passion for helping the people we serve. We have added part-time schedules to accommodate employees who are retired and they're just looking for something to do, who do not wish to work 40-plus hours a week. And since salaries are our biggest overhead, adding several part-time positions has helped us to better manage that line item. We've expanded our hours of service to include 11 hours of service on Saturday. We still offer full-time employee company-paid health insurance, and we were happy to be able to offer our employees a retirement program, our full-time employees, a retirement program with company match to the list of benefits the transit system offers. The transit system applied for funding to renovate the parking lot at our facility at 1416 South Morgan. That rehab opened up over 200 parking spots to accommodate park and ride service during events throughout Granbury and Hood County. The transit system has begun rebranding its logos and fleet to stand out to better be recognized in the community as public transportation. I want to thank you for your continued support of our mission in the community. Your support allows us to continue to provide public transportation with subsidized fares to all the citizens of Hood County. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer questions.
It's a very good service that they support here. There's a lot of people that really depend upon the transit system to get them around. I mean, really it is, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And we got the parking facility that's, where is that, on Morgan Street, that is
Yes,
out
sir.
there?
Right across from Berkshire's.
And if you can call them, what we need to do probably better here is to let people know that they can reserve a bus, like to go different places, and it's very economical to get a good driver, and you can go to the DFW if you have to do something, and other places like that, don't y'all?
Danny, that's exactly what Danny does for us at the transit system. He goes out, he maintains those partnerships and goes out and speaks about the transit system and tries to keep us in the forefront because you're right, we're very easily overlooked. A lot of people don't look at our buses on the road as public transportation, but that's exactly what it is.
Yes, it is. And so maybe we'll have you come up here and speak, maybe at a commissioner's court at a special presentation, so you can come up here and make, because this is televised, our commissioner's court hearings are televised, and you can kind of tell the citizens of Hood County what services are available, because I was surprised, because we have our quarterly meetings, and it's a very good service that y'all provide.
It is, Judge, and there are a couple of things that are very dear to my heart, and that's our veterans and our seniors, because I'm both of those. We realize that in this county there are a lot of veterans and seniors that are not in good shape physically or financially. For them to pay for a ride to, let's say, a medical appointment, it's tough, especially toward the end of the month. So we have partnered with 2 different organizations to help with that. They'll cover those costs if they're vetted properly, okay? That's the kind of stuff I'm doing now. I'm not going to reiterate what Dee Dee said, but I just wanted you to know about that. And we're working on more, okay? We're working with Pecan Valley over here for the veterans, and the North Texas Council of Governments, we call it COG for short. So that's what we're doing.
Well, yes, we're going to do that. We're going to do something. We're going to get you to come up there and speak, or both of y'all to come up here and speak and show what services are available to a lot of people, because it's becoming more and more important to have these services. Going to a doctor like that, going to the VA hospital in Fort Worth, which is a pain for a lot of these guys, this could really, they could schedule their appointments. That's really good. Y'all doing a great service. You really are. You're doing a great job.
The best part about the transit system is it is subsidized. So our fares are reasonable. An example, we do an airport service for Hood County residents or from our park and ride. You can park and ride from there. A family of 4 can ride to the airport for $45 one way. So and our seniors can ride in Granbury for $3. So it's a subsidized service, and the funding that we get from through the federal grants and the state grants, and obviously from our local government grants, help with that.
What is the percentage, what this grant that's here from Hood County, what percentage does that make up of your total funding?
Well, I'm not a math person without my little calculator, but our federal grant was right at $500,000 this year, and our state grant was at $3. So Hood County gives us $30,000, which we did not ask for. That's what we've been getting from you guys for several years now.
Okay.
We get funding from the city of Granbury. We get funding from Somerville County and the city of Glen Rose. So it's roughly around $100,000 between all the.
That's what I was going to ask. Between the city of Granbury.
From all of the local government funding that we get.
Okay.
You do a great job and have some great people, that's
Yes.
for sure. Thank you for what you're doing. Appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
Okay,
Thank
thank you, Dee Dee. Okay. Now we have the Hood County Historical Commission. I see her sneaking in up there. Ms. Christy Massey?
You're not doing it till 9:15, please.
Well, hey, if you snooze, you lose. We're just a fishing up here. Were you waiting on somebody too? You waiting on Becky?
Yeah, because I'm just the secretary of the Historical Commission. The
You,
president and the treasurer should be here. If they don't show up, then you're stuck with me.
okay, well, we can go ahead and, is anybody here from Pecan Valley? No? How about from the Appraisal District?
No.
I guess we just,
Might have to take our break early.
yeah. I guess we could just take a break early because we are running 15 minutes ahead of time. Let's just go ahead and wait. No, it's not your fault. We set the schedule, okay? We'll just
Can you,
take a break
can you
until
tap dance
9:15.
or anything?
It's now 9:20. I've given you an extra 4 minutes here, Ms. Massey, but we'd like to listen to the Hood County Historical Commission.
All right.
Please.
My name is Christy Massey. I'm secretary for the Historical Commission of Hood County. I've been on the commission for 20 years. We do the best we can to cover the entire county, not just Granbury. But every part of this county has some historical aspects. We deal with the historical markers. We deal with, I'm not going to call them parties, but when they get together to celebrate historical things in the county, we help with that. The most difficult part, and it's like giving birth to a sharp-edged baby, is trying to find the Christmas decorations for the exterior of the courthouse. The nutcrackers. And we found a couple, but they're 12 feet tall, and there's no way of taking care of them when it's not Christmas. So we are still trying to take care of that, and we will find some way to decorate the exterior of the courthouse so that all of us can be proud of it. We try not to use any more money than is needed by the county and the historical part of it. And that's about all I have to say. If you have any questions, I'll be attempt to answer them.
I have a question.
I'm sorry.
Have they not been on the courthouse steps because you don't have people to move them out there? Like, or where are the nutcrackers? Because I remember taking my grandkids' pictures.
Well, they're kind of like that. They're broken.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because if,
The old ones, they broke up.
okay, because I
Yeah.
thought you were talking about needing.
New
not-
ones.
Oh, needing.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No. We tried gluing them back together and everything else, and it
Okay,
just
I
didn't
thought you
work.
were talking about a problem, like moving them to the
Oh, no,
courthouse
no,
and
no.
moving them back. Okay, I'm
No,
sorry, I
ma'am.
misunderstood.
But thank you.
Is there room in the bus barn, this new barn we have, for the nutcracker to go in there? Well, they're broken.
Well, if
If they buy new. Oh.
we're trying to get normal sized ones, because if you get something that's 12 feet tall, but we will get something.
Good.
Oh, is there any? So besides this $5,000 that you're requesting, is there any other funding that this gets?
No.
Okay. And so you mentioned about, you said you didn't want to call them parties, but the celebrations. So is this the commission that, how did the name change from General Granbury's birthday to Founder's Day? Was that part of this, or was there some other?
That's
Had
Granbury
nothing to do with
Merchants.
Hood County Historical Commission, because a few years ago, they wanted to tear down the statue of General Granbury and Hood and change everything, and I suggested that they not do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a whole different bunch, right?
Okay. I just, when you said
We know
you
who.
charge of getting together for celebrations, that came to my head.
Yes.
We did replace the Santa Claus who was getting yellow. I mean, not real yellow, and I'm glad we got that so that the children weren't confused about anything. I appreciate that. I've been saying that for 5 years or 4 years, so thank you for that. But y'all do work closely with us. We had a good addition where Ronnie Roan donated that oil painting of General Granbury, General Hood, and had a nice little reception for that. Y'all work well, you and Becky Barnes, and so y'all do well, and we like working with you.
Thank you.
But we always get your permission before we put anything up, okay? Holy smoke. All right?
The Luton family has given us a new display case we put in the hallway outside the old treasurer's office, the historical commission office now. And we will be putting the historical items in that. There is another donation that is maybe going to happen that is 7 feet tall with about 4.5 feet wide, glass enclosed, that we'll be able to put a lot of historical stuff in.
With shelves? Are you saying shelving? Is that what, a glass
There's
enclosure
shelves,
with shelving? Okay.
With doors.
I was trying to read your sign language.
Tap dance again? Okay. So,
And I donated one that's a deal that I'm going to put in there for the veterans that Brett Quillen asked me about. That's a glass curio shop that's very nice with glass shelving. He wanted one, and so that's right next to the veterans office that's sitting there, so.
put veteran stuff there.
But to put that, because he asked me about it, and I said, no, we're not touching anything in those other glass shelvings up here. I like doing what I'm doing up here, Brett, so we took care of it that way. But I like working. Okay, good deal. Thank you, Ms. Massing. All right. The next item, Pecan Valley Mental Health. Mr. Coke Beatty.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. Appreciate your time this morning. And, of course, I appreciate Christy Massey and Ed Selheimer and Sheriff Deeds. Sheriff is an ex officio board member, and Christy and Ed, as you know, have been appointed to provide oversight to our board for Hood County. So we really do appreciate that. Appreciate your support of $31,765.20. I don't know how the 20 cents got in there, but we appreciate that too. Your support is important to us. We are here because of you and because of the decision made by your predecessors many years ago, back in the 70s when Pecan Valley was created, because since we are a unit of government, we were created by units of government, the county commissioners in our counties. So I think that's important for y'all to know that. And the state asks us to receive support from our counties as matching funds. So everything is matching, right? So that's where your dollars, this $31,765 goes to our match that's required by HHSC for us to provide the services here that we provide to the Hood County residents. So thank you for all that. I'm not asking for an increase this year. We think there's going to be a lot of new mental health funding coming out this year from our Texas legislature. And we haven't seen all of it. It hasn't all been approved. And HHSC has not made any official statements to us yet, but we do feel like this legislative session, this 88th session, did approve an increase in general operating funds for local mental health authorities. And this is the first time that's happened since 2009. So with the cost of doing business, gas, utilities, insurance for your employees, insurance for our facilities has been on the rise like it has for the county since 2009. We live on a fixed allocation, fixed budget from the state. We're not state employees, so you may have heard over the years state employees get a raise or benefit increase. Well, that doesn't include us. We are contractors with the state of Texas, with y'all providing through Christy and Ed and the sheriff oversight for local needs. So real quickly, I just want to give you, in the spirit of transparency, give you some of numbers from Pecan Valley, just overall our 6 counties numbers, and then drill down into Hood County numbers. And then I want to talk a little bit about some of the services that we provide and how we track that, and then close with a brief statement about the legislative potential new funding that's coming out to us. Pecan Valley does serve 6 counties. I think everyone knows the counties that we serve. We have a $36.4 million budget. The funding that makes up that amount, it's about a third from the state, about a third from Medicaid, and then third from other sources and funds. It used to be DSRIP funding that has morphed to uncompensated care, financial modeling for reimbursement, plus a direct payment system based on Medicaid recipients. So you can look at it about a third, a third, a third. A lot of folks think we're 100% funded by the state of Texas, and we are not. We have 325 employees in our budget, region-wide, for our 6 counties. Over the past 12 months, region-wide, we have served 8,300 individual adults in a mental health service, and 1,200, and that includes youth as well. And for intellectual developmental disability services, we have served 1,200 individuals over the past 12 months. We are a certified community behavioral health clinic, which is a statewide certification. It's also a national certification. Local mental health authorities like us, there are 39 in Texas. So every county in Texas has a local mental health authority, just like Pecan Valley. Some are one county, like Tarrant County, MHMR, just Tarrant. And some are like us, 6 counties. Some have 26 counties when you get out to West Texas. But we're all now certified as CCBHCs. We took it upon ourselves to go out and get additional certification through CARF. So we are CARF accredited. CARF is an international accreditation. So that's a little look at region-wide services or cost and numbers. So what about Hood County? Hood County, we have 59 employees that work in the county here every day. Hiring has picked up. Overall, we got down to 40% employment status over the past 2.5 years due to COVID, people not wanting to come to work, all that. So some of our clinics ran with maybe 5 people in them for months, but that's starting to turn around. We're happy to see that people are starting to want to come back to work. For Hood County, for mental health outpatient individuals, over the past 12 months, we served 1,430 adults, just Hood County residents. For youth, we served 252, just Hood County, for a total of 1,682 Hood County residents received at least one service from Pecan Valley over the past 12 months. For mental health. For intellectual disability services, 188 individuals received at least one service. We work with all the private providers in the community that provide intellectual disability services, and we work with the schools and go to their ARDS meetings with the kiddos. We work with the hospital. We work with law enforcement. Our mobile crisis outreach team served 422 individuals in just Hood County residents over the past 12 months. We see that number on the rise. Of that 422, now this is the mobile crisis outreach team. This is the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week team that goes out and does assessments either virtually through iPad or face-to-face, in some cases telephonically, back when COVID was at its height. So of the 422, 156 of those individuals went involuntarily into a state psychiatric facility that we facilitated, that Sheriff's Department, I'm sure, transported those individuals. Of that number, of the 422, 22 went voluntarily. So, and when someone goes voluntarily, they go under their own power typically, unless they just have no transportation whatsoever. But family member typically will take them. And of that 422, 11 were diverted to our Crisis Respite Center in Stephenville. And that center has been very useful, and it's something that we might want to think about to have one closer to Granbury or somewhere between Granbury and Weatherford, somewhere like that, for if we do an additional crisis respite facility. The remaining 233 individuals, what happened to those folks? We were able to stabilize those individuals where they were safe, and they were able to remain in the community with counseling and seeing our doctors, and they didn't have to go inpatient. They didn't have to go to the respite center. They weren't committed anywhere. So they remained in a safe state, in a stable state. They just needed an intervention to help them maintain that stability in the community. So our doctors and counselors play a significant role in that. Veteran services, where I'm very grateful to have Josh as our veterans coordinator. He's a great guy. He's totally dedicated to veterans. I too am a veteran, so it's near and dear to my heart. We have received grants from TVC Two $300,000 grants, one for financial assistance, one for ongoing needs like home construction, various things like that. Over the past 12 months, 41 Hood County residents that are veterans have received financial assistance. Oftentimes, I sign those checks so I know where they go. They go to rent, utilities, and medical bills. And 51 have received mental health counseling services. We have an excellent mental health counselor who's also a veteran. People love him. He's a great guy. We also have, you'll recall, Governor Perry created the Military Veterans Peer Network Program in Texas back many years ago when he was governor. And so every local mental health authority in Texas has that program, and Josh oversees that program as well. And the intent is to try to reduce suicide by veterans because the number's gotten better. It was 22 a day. I believe now it's closer to 17 to 18 veterans a day commit suicide in the United States. Don't do the math. It's depressing when you look at how many veterans commit suicide. It's just since I've been talking this morning. So the Veterans Peer Network simply connects veterans together so they can talk about supporting each other and especially mental health services. And we've served 144 Hood County. That's a hard number it's probably higher than that because that's an anonymous number. We don't ask people to register for that. They just join a meeting. So it's probably much higher than 144. So that's an overview of the numbers. If you have any questions about that, I'll be glad to pause and respond. Services provided, I've already mentioned a few. The 24-hour, 7-day-a-week mobile crisis outreach team that we provide. We have psychiatry, labs, medications, psychiatric nursing, licensed counselors, case managers, eligibility specialists to help people get on the benefits that they deserve, that they qualify for in Texas and nationally. And we also last year set up a primary care clinic, but in our large clinic in Cleburne. But it's accessible to Hood County clients that we serve. And we provide transportation as well. So the data shows that individuals with a mental illness do not take care of their physical needs. Many have diabetes, they're obese, they have high blood pressure. Those things will kill you. And what happens is oftentimes due to their psychosis, they will not seek treatment until they're on their deathbed. And then they wind up going to the emergency room and spending days or weeks there and then dying, or being admitted to a room in a hospital for days or weeks and dying. So that's not good for any society for that to happen. And besides, it's very costly to society to let that happen if it can be prevented. So that's the whole idea here. This is prevention. That's good for people and it's cost effective. I really appreciate the Hood Commissioner letting us use the $100,000 for ARPA funding. We serve 20 individuals in housing with all that funding, and that funding's been expended. We do tap other sources for housing. We had 9 other Hood County residents that received housing services through state funds. So there's a state housing authority in Austin. They have a tenant-based rental assistance program, and we tap into that to help our residents. So we have 35 Hood County residents still waiting for housing. So we are continue to use funds for housing as they become available by the state. HHSC does give us a little bit for housing, but not enough to meet the needs.
Did you say, I'm sorry, did you say 20 individuals is what you used from
Yes,
the ARPA funding?
Exactly. Yes, 20. And we have 35 waiting today. A few services real quickly before my time expires. We have a Takumi program, and I don't think I've mentioned that to y'all before. That's a Texas Commission on Offenders with Mental and Medical Impairments. It's a mouthful. But it's funded through the Texas Department of Corrections. And the way it works is they fund caseworkers, the program for us. When I say a program, that means caseworkers, staff that actually implement the program rules. And so when someone's released from state jail or prison that has a mental illness that's been discovered while incarcerated, and they're being returned back home, being released, either they served their time and they're being released, or they're out on parole for some reason, we get their entire medical record, the day they're going to be released, their home address and phone number. And our staff make a contact with them the day they return home and offer our full array of mental health services to them. It has fantastic outcomes. Recidivism is way down for mental health reasons for those individuals. So very few of them reoffend and go back to prison because of this program. So I'm very, very happy with that program.
Is that a voluntary situation?
It is. It is voluntary.
Okay. I
Yes,
didn't know if
it's
this
not
was some
mandatory for their
mandated as part of
probation
their
or
sentence
release.
or anything, so.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Occasionally, someone will refuse those services, but it just doesn't happen very often. But it could happen. That's a good question. Yeah. Also, we have a Texas Juvenile Justice grant that we have a caseworker actually working with the Hood County Juvenile Probation Department. And that accelerates admission into our services for kids that are involved with juvenile probation and maybe not involved with us, and that will help close the gap and increase access. The thing that I have the most recent news on is our jail-based competency restoration program. And Kevin, you and I talked about this a little bit. As of Monday, they approved moving our funds from outpatient competency restoration to jail-based. So that's been approved. I'm just waiting on the contract to arrive from the state. They told us it's in the mail. So.
And what does that change?
So jail competency restoration is a lot. We have a lot of folks in jail that are incompetent to stand trial due to mental illness. The way things have operated in Texas for years is for someone to be deemed competent to stand trial. Now that's a kind of a gray area. It's kind of, it's like an oxymoron almost, isn't it? But we're not curing their mental illness so they can stand trial. We're educating them on the processes of the court and of the law that they broke, typically a felony that they committed, and that they understand what's happening to them, even though they have mental illness. So that makes them competent, and it's an educational process that has competency testing for the person, that we can show that the person does understand what's happening to them now, so now they're competent to stand trial. They're still mentally ill, but now they're competent in the processes that they're going to be placed, walking through because of the crime they committed. This can be done now, or very soon when we get the funds, in the jail. Before, it was either outpatient, which means the court had to release the individual, which either they were out on bond or the charges were dropped, right? So that's how they would get in the program. We had very few of those that would qualify. The court was very hesitant to bond someone out in that situation or drop charges. So if that didn't occur, the only other alternative was to go to North Texas State Hospital in Wichita Falls, and where they would be committed until they were competent to stand trial. Okay. So that backed up the state hospitals.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is with a significant backlog and
exactly,
you know, and putting that back on the individual counties because they
exactly right. So. That's the exact connection there. That's why that's a problem.
So now your services will be able to go into the Hood County Jail.
Yes.
And help
go
folks
through that
understand.
Process.
And then,
yes.
So that, I'm just trying to draw the connection here. Will that help the trials happen faster and the population decrease? Is that an outcome that we're thinking would happen from this?
I believe so.
Okay.
The wait to get into a state hospital for this service was sometimes a year or two, depending on where you were in Texas, where you were on the list. And over the years, past several years, about 65% of the individuals in a state hospital in Texas were there for forensic reasons. This is would be a forensic admission. These type of admissions to state facilities like Wichita Falls State Hospital, that they call North Texas State Hospital, would happen from the court. It'd be a court order. We really wouldn't be involved in that. That'd be a court decision. They're incompetent. We need to get them there until they are, to bring them back, try them, and keep this moving. Many people languished for years in jail waiting for a trial because of this very reason. So this will shorten that time span down dramatically. We have a list of all of our jails that have people that are incompetent to stand trial and on the wait list to get to the state hospital. So we know who those folks are.
Do you know the number for Hood County?
I don't know the number for Hood County,
I don't know if
but
the sheriff might.
Sheriff probably does.
We just brought one back, and I think we've still got 2 on the waiting list.
Okay.
That
So it's
sounds-
not
that sounds about
it's not a, like 40% or something.
no.
It's just a small amount of
Right.
the current inmate population that would benefit from this program.
Yes.
Okay.
Region-wide, I think the number averages about 16 individuals on any given day that we would look. There would be 16 in one of our jails and one of our total of the jails in our 6 counties.
Okay.
So those are all great questions. So we're looking forward to getting that funding, hiring a couple of extra people for this, and getting that program started. And the sheriffs, we've spoken with all the sheriffs, and they think it's a good idea in all of our counties. And so I think they're even talking about working together to consolidate a little bit for this program in certain counties. So real quickly, just wanted to touch on 2 more things if I have time. One is we are very interested and concerned on quality and on utilization of services at Pecan Valley. We have several measures that we gauge on a regular basis. We have 22 measures that we report to the state that are sanctionable. In other words, if we don't hit that measure, then we pay money back to the state. Right now, we're all good. We're all in the green on that. We don't have any, we're hitting all of our measures and outcomes. A measure and an outcome, just to give you an example, would be a service target. Like, they want us to have 2,929 adult mental health individuals region-wide in a full level of care, and we have different types of levels of care in our system on a monthly average. Well, we're over 3,000 on that number. So we're doing fine. They also have improvement measures. For example, a child with depression involved in juvenile probation will not reoffend. A certain percentage of those will not reoffend, for example. So they're clinically based, and then some are just raw numbers that we're counting. How many of these types of folks did we serve over the month? And then we have continuity of care measures. So if you've, Senate Bill 29, Lois Colkhorst, is an interesting Senate bill that you might want to go see. That will increase, that will do 2 or 3 things for local mental health authorities. One, it increases the continuity of care that's already in place with state facilities. We do have continuity of care with state facilities. We always have. This will kind of ramp that up a little bit. It will also provide some funding for matching grants for local mental health authorities with counties to be creative, to see what programs can be created for diversion, forensic offenders, and those type of things with mental illness. It also requires that the Office of Inspector General, the OIG, will audit local mental health authorities at least once every 10 years. So we are audited frequently, often and frequently. We were counting the other day at the office. We have on average 14 independent audits a year for the community center. That's required, standards required, and they audit our Medicaid programs, and all of those things. So we're audited to death, in my opinion. So this is one more audit. I'm not sure what the OIG knows about us, probably nothing. So there's going to have to be a learning curve on how that's going to work out. I'm sure it'll be fine. And we also have an independent financial audit every year. So that's a single audit that occurs by an independent CPA firm that gives an independent opinion to the board and to HHSC. They get it. I send it to you, Judge, every year as well. Scott Singleton and Fincher is our CPA firm this year. We change it up every 5 or 6 years. So, and we're in good financial standing. We're solid. We're good with HHSC. We're in good standing with them as well. We have other measures. We have 8 benchmark measures. So not only we have 22 that we measure to be sanctioned on, we have 8 more the state asked us to collect because they might want to create those as measures one day. And then we have 15 additional measures related to our CCBHC and our direct payment program funding as well. So a total of 45 different measures that we collect every day, every month, every quarter. We create quarterly reports. And yes, I've had to add staff over the years that know how to collect measures and work our electronic health records and all of that. So it really creates, and I'm sure hospitals have to do the same thing. And of course, we are a medical facility. So I appreciate your time today. Most of the legislative session, this 88th session dealt with mental health issues. Of course, they had to deal with the Uvalde incident. That created a lot of their direction. Uvalde is getting their own mental health facility built and funded in their community. Amarillo is getting a state hospital. Some of the other state hospitals are increasing their bed capacity. And all of this is necessary. Lubbock is increasing their bed capacity for their state hospital. Sunrise Canyon is their hospital. Before all the expansion, there were 2,500 funded state hospital beds, psych hospital beds in the entire state of Texas. Now, let that number sink in. 2,500, 2,500. So you wonder why there are people on the streets with mental illness, why they're living in tents, under bridges, walking around the city streets in a psychosis. Our state hospital system and our institutional care, the state mental health laws in Texas are what we have to abide by. And state hospitals today are short-term stabilization till they're deemed not dangerous to themselves or others, and then they're discharged. Don't necessarily have to have a place to go first, but that's where we come in. And we're somewhat fortunate that we don't have a lot of homeless people like you might see in Fort Worth, Dallas. Of course, if you ever go to Austin, you'll see them for sure, Houston. But we're starting to see it. I've received calls from a couple of different counties, not this one recently, with situations just like that. And sometimes there's just not a good answer. But it's just something that we all need to be made aware of, and I believe we need to look at our institutional care a little differently. There are some folks who cannot care for themselves in the community due to mental illness. Sheriff Deeds will tell you that he's had inmates that are perfect inmates when they're in jail, and then when they're released, they're not. They cannot live independently. Then they reoffend, they're rearrested. They go right back to jail. So we've seen a rash of suicides across the whole state of Texas, and we've seen it in Hood County, youth especially. And we've seen it in other counties, not just Hood. We do have a suicide prevention coordinator, and we are in a collaboration with THR Hospital System. And we're trying to look at data. We're trying to close the gap between people that walk into an emergency room, they say they're suicidal, and then that's when the ER will call us and our staff will respond. Sometimes they're gone by the time we get there or before we do an assessment virtually. Some of those folks will walk in, say they're suicidal, and then refuse all services and leave. There will be no connection to us in emergency room. We'll hand them a card, say, call Pecan Valley. you know, they can help you. They can get you medications and other things that you need. And they never call. So we're trying to close that gap. My staff don't carry guns or badges, so they have to learn how to engage with individuals, to motivate them to stay in services. And actually, we provide specific training for that to our staff on how to do that. But that's part of the issue. That's part of people that continuously show up in an emergency room that never darken the doors of a therapist or mental health provider of any kind. Doesn't have to be us. Can be any mental health provider at all. But we're looking forward to some of the two things in closing is there is funding coming out for mental health match grants, and then the expansion of some of the hospitals in Texas. So we hope that will alleviate a lot of local pressure.
So with those hospitals, the 2,500 beds currently, after Uvalde, Amarillo, and Lubbock expansion, do you know what the bed count will be?
I don't have that count, but I know Amarillo, I believe, is going to be a 100-bed facility. They're bringing online a facility in Dallas that will be 200 beds, but that'll be gone the day they open.
Yeah.
We won't have access to that. Plus, they said about 75 of those beds are going to be for students and research and stuff. So it's really about 125 beds that will be open, but Dallas will fill those up. They have the issue, and I've spoken with the superintendent at North Texas State Hospital, Jim Smith. Actually, he just retired last month. Is they've had to take beds offline due to COVID. Mm-hmm. And then they couldn't hire staff either. And they could go to work at Buc-ee's and make a whole lot more money than work on the rider unit at the state hospital and get punched and scratched and bit every day. So there was some talk, and we have to see how it all washes out, but there will talk about opening some more beds that are already at the state facilities. They just have had to go offline.
So we're not talking about doubling 2,500 to 5,000. It's more like 2,500 to 3,000 maybe.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, that's probably more accurate. Yes, absolutely. If there's anything I can ever do, please call. We're public servants. We're here to serve the community. And if there's any service that we have, we want to give it to people. We have no interest in not serving people. We want to give someone everything they're eligible to receive. And enjoy working with the Sheriff Deeds immensely, and his staff are great. And we appreciate you, Judge, for your support, and commissioners.
Thank you. I think y'all do a great job, really. It's getting to be a more severe problem every day, but just the nature of the beast, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
They did come up with a national hotline, new hotline number, 988, if you haven't heard that yet. 988 is a national suicide hotline, and it will link to our Pecan Valley hotline. So if someone calls 988 and a qualified screener, evaluator will speak with them. If they need to connect with us, they do that electronically through their systems. They connect to our hotline. Then our staff are dispatched. Plus, if you're a veteran, you call 988, and if you press 1, option 1, you talk to a veteran service coordinator, and they will expedite a VA hospital psych placement. And we've actually had that experience once or twice already since 988 has occurred. So that's been very helpful to our veterans. to not have to go through other recourses when they're a veteran, and then they can just get right into the VA for psych services.
Good deal. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate all the detailed information that you gave, and that, you have a financial statement. If you wouldn't, is that what you sent to the judge?
I do.
Okay.
I sure do.
If you would send that to me. I don't know if anyone else
Absolutely.
wants it, but I would like it. And it just reminds me as we go through these that we should be asking for the financial statements of all of the
Absolutely.
nonprofits that are coming up, so.
I'm not sure who we send it to. I'll check back at the office, but after every monthly board meeting, we send our board meeting financial and board minutes to the counties. So you've got it somewhere. But I'm not sure who has it.
Okay.
But let me check back at the office, and I'll email you or something. Let you know.
Yeah, I think you provided a lot of good information for helping with decision-making, so I just think we need to ask the same level of detail from all of the folks that are coming up, so thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And a happy Father's Day. Are you dead?
Hey, thank you. Thank you, same to you.
Happy Father's Day to you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next is Hood County Appraisal District. Anybody? All right. How about the Acton Nature Center? How about capital improvements?
Acton Nature Center did send us a letter, right?
Capital improvements?
To answer that, I believe so.
They sent us a letter. Mhm.
If you want me to go ahead with mine, in case people wait till 10:30 to show up for capital projects, you can go over the auditor.
All right.
Dave has the auditor, so I'll let him take over.
Okay. You want to take the auditor next?
Is that all right? I don't have anything outstanding in my budget. I manage all the self-supporting funds. Are there any questions on whatever is in your binder regarding those?
Anybody have any questions of the auditor? Complaints? Praises?
Any questions?
Are you, when we get to capital, are you going to, I didn't bring it with me, so that sheet that you publish every court that kind of tracks all the capital, can
I
you?
did not bring it with me. This would be new on top of that. So
Yeah, but it kind of gives us like what's still in the queue that we haven't paid for yet.
Well, we have about $1 million that is not allocated, somewhere in that neighborhood. Everything else that is will come in. It's big items, air conditioning, repair, things of that nature.
Might just go print it and just.
Let me see if I can find one.
There's nothing else for the auditor there. Let's go to the commissioners. Commissioners, y'all need anything? Nothing for commissioners.
Are we going? No, we were going to, I mean, since this is our first time to talk about it.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about it. Judge is next. He's ready.
Do we need, I mean, I don't know, I'm still in the first half of my first year, but I see that the supplies were reduced to $3,500. Should we reduce it more? Is there any reason for that? So far this year, it looks like it's only been $545 spent. Well, that's probably not exactly up to date, but it's probably somewhere around 600. I'll look on here.
Is that it? Supplies?
Well, I mean, we don't really have much in our budget. We don't have any salaries other than ours.
I'm not complaining.
Oh,
I'm
I
just
mean,
asking a
we could
question.
cut other things if you'd like.
No, well,
I
if
mean-
you're not, I'll go into mine.
I'm sorry, I'm just asking. I mean, is there a reason that it needs to be at that amount?
Which one, supplies?
Mm-hmm.
No. Not necessarily.
And now that we are allowed to do online training, is there an opportunity there to reduce education and travel?
When I started with the Commissioners Court, we had for education travel expenses, $2,500 per commissioner. And of course, first year commissioner will be usually the most expensive, which I think my first year I used up about the $2,500. But after that, it just depends on each commissioner. I mean, I don't even need 2,000 myself, but you can see that we've reduced it down to a line item of 2,000 for each commissioner. I think second year, I might have went over, maybe that was the first year, I had to borrow from another commissioner from his. So, it's kind of we've reduced it totally at $2,000 from the original 10, now it's at 8 for the whole court. And they are starting, now that you brought this up, there are some courses that are starting to come online that we can take via our computer. A couple of years ago when the legislature enacted this, it sounded fine and dandy, but there were no courses. But now they're starting to get some online, so I guess over the course of time we might be able to do more online if we want to. And of course we have the extension, Ag Extension puts on one in the fall, which is free, right, except for travel. So there's ways we can certainly reduce our expenses, but some of the commissioners prefer to go to somewhere to get their hours, and I don't argue that that's not the right thing to do either. I think it's up to each commissioner.
I was just, we've been hearing a lot from the different departments, and there's a lot of pressure on the budget based on the increases that were made during this fiscal year. So, I mean, this one we have direct control over because I guess we have direct control over all of them, but this is us personally, so leading by example, I would like to find a way to cut our budget so that we could lead by example and, have some amount that we can show. You guys did before I got here, eliminate the administrative assistant, which I think was a good move to reduce that expense. So if there's anything we can do to lead by example to show that we are being fiscally responsible and also just lead by example, we can't ask other people to cut their budget if we're not willing to cut ours.
Anything else?
No, I do agree with you. I was looking at mine, and mine was actually in a weird situation where I paid for the registration out of the previous year, and then the other expenses were in this year. And I was just sitting here kind of adding that up, and I think that ended up, it may be the 1,700 was actually the cost of that. I don't remember exactly what that 696, that may have been mileage for one of the ones like Dave's talking about, the one in Waco there or something, but I don't know, that may be kind of the course or the cost of going to one of those. Ends up being somewhere in that ballpark. As far as supplies go, I need a ream of paper and some toner every once in a while. And that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, roll of tape maybe. you know? So, I could see cutting supplies for sure.
Well, I could probably go to 2,000 for the total.
On supplies?
Yes.
I don't argue with that. I don't know if we would use that even, but that at least leave us some.
You know, that's 500 per, you know, commissioner.
Yep.
And, you know, right now, I don't see spending that kind of, you know, money, but, you know, I think we've got to have something there. Otherwise we'll be doing a transfer, and then that becomes an issue, because I get quite a few comments about why we have so many line item transfers in the first place.
That's true.
Agree with you.
So could you just explain the remaining budget from last year that's not been spent? Where does it go at the end of the fiscal year?
They divide it up amongst their bank accounts.
Where do you think all those new trucks come from?
Okay.
It all goes to fund balance.
Okay.
Yeah, and what does that mean? Fund balance?
At the end of the year, in each fund, what is revenue over expense or vice versa, that amount is booked into fund balance, and do year-end adjustments and increase or decrease fund balance.
Okay.
And there are other journal entries, a lot of other journal entries that go along with your year-end cleanup.
So I'm just trying to help answer her question. So the fund balance then is available for the next budget year if needed?
Yes, ma'am.
And there's several classifications of fund balance. There's allocated, that we've got set aside to pay future bills, and there's 2 or 3 other nomenclatures, and then there's unallocated, which means that's the unallocated part of our fund balance is the savings account side of it. In other words, it isn't committed, it's just extra money there and it's recommended. I think Becky likes to have a higher fund balance in there than I do, but it's recommended somewhere between 3 months and 6 months of county operating expenses to be in that account in case of an emergency. Just like most people that prudent at home to have a little nest egg in case of an emergency, that's where that money is. And I think the general accepted accounting principles for government will say 3 to 6 months. Am I about right there?
I believe it was 6 to 9.
Okay, well, we've always disagreed. Becky and I have always disagreed on that. So we'll look into that and try to get a better answer.
Okay. I didn't ask that question, but okay.
Our auditor, our outside audit firm.
Yeah.
Well, you did ask for what fund balance was, so I'm just trying to explain it.
Well, she didn't, I did, but that's because it was when the answer to the question doesn't really answer your question, unless you knew all about county government and you knew what happened, so.
Thank you for expanding on my question, because sometimes I don't know that
Yeah.
to ask.
Yeah.
So,
Our outside
A lot to
auditor.
learn.
and then he explained that there were multiple accounts, so thank you for expanding on my one question.
They seem to be of the mind that 9 months is amazing, and we're close to that. And they said that's extremely healthy for our county, and they gave us kudos for that.
I was just going to say, for your supply line, your reams of paper you were talking about, that actually doesn't come out of your supply line. It should come out of our paper supply line.
I thought that went back to the individual departments. I asked
No.
Glenn that question earlier this year.
There's so much paper that's bought. We have a line account for water, because each department is having to pay for that, the piddly $2.50. So that comes in one bill. There's a line account in general administration for that. For water, there's a line account for paper, because it's just bought. There's so much of it that's bought. It's easier to just pay for it out of one line account, let my staff take care of that.
Then maybe, is this just for pens and pencils then?
Well, I guess if you're, yeah.
Well, if you need
I
a
mean, that's-
calculator, if your phone, you need a handset, your supply line is for more than pens and paper.
Okay.
I hope that helped.
Yeah. Well, maybe we won't need it.
All right, now we'll go to the county judge. County judge, it looks like that I've reduced my supplies by $300. And reduce travel and expense by $1,000, although Ms. McCoy and I need to go to some school again. Don't we have to, what's that school we have to do an investment program on?
Investments.
I just went to mine. I just got back Wednesday.
What, I think,
You couldn't have
You may have
gone.
to
Well,
go in November.
did you sign me in?
No.
Different one. So that's all I've done with mine. And then on the county court of law, we've been able to make a significant cuts there. We cut out the special judge, reduced that by $2,700. And the outside court reporters by $800, so that's a $3,500 savings there. I think that's because the attorneys here trust me to hear stuff that we were getting in the past, special judges to hear. And then again on supplies there, reduced that by $500. That's about it. So I haven't asked for anything except that depending upon what we do with administrative help in the offices, that if that does that, I have an administrative assistant that I would like to increase depending upon what we end up doing as a county as a whole for all of the clerks / administrators / office managers.
What about raises for elected you?
For the elected officials, I don't, 3%
Because I know a couple of years ago, I think you forego raises altogether.
during COVID. We went to
2 years
3 years.
ago?
No, I think it was 3 years.
Was it 3 years ago?
3 years.
No, we went 3 years.
Oh, you went 3 years without a raise. Okay.
without
So
it, that's for all elected and appointed.
No.
That's
just elected.
Oh, just the elected? Okay, I stand corrected. But that was, 3 years without anything.
Okay, so, but what y'all are asking for is 3% for,
We haven't really talked about that yet.
isn't that what's on the sheet, or?
It's factored into this,
It is.
Oh, it was already factored in. Okay.
Right
I didn't
now.
know that. Thank you.
And Nanette, for capital projects, there is $2,461,406.
Wait, let me get to the page.
Repeat it again, 2 million?
$2,461,406. That's not anywhere on any paperwork.
Oh, it's not on
I'm reading
this-
it off of the last report I sent you guys.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you won't find it. You just.
I'm just going to the
You want me to go
capital
over it again so you
projects.
can write it down?
Yeah, I'm going to write it on the capital projects, the 4061 account. So what did you say?
$2,461,406.
Okay.
Of that, $1,033,435 is unallocated. We have a
what's that again, the unallocated?
unallocated is $1,033,435. We have, of the items left that are actually allocated, the chairs for the county court at law courtroom, there's still some funds to replace air conditioning units, there's still some citizens collection station fencing, the Mitel phone upgrade, voting equipment, the balance for IT to buy computers, scanners, laptops. There's some money left for the software applications for Tyler, fuel, tank components. I thought that was done, but it's not. Bulletproof vest. There is still the fire marshal's 2022. Did y'all hear that? 2022 Ford F-350. I doubt it's going to be a 2022 anymore. There are 6 Tahoes on here, Tahoe equipment, and Constable 2, the 2022 Ford F-150. That's what comprises the difference in those two.
Between the
amounts.
2.4 and the 1.03.
Yes. And approved expenditures are $1,427,790. So
$1,427,000.
970. That's your difference.
Okay.
The difference in those two amounts is $1,427,970. And I've rounded these. There's some change, but I just. And no one is here for capital projects.
Oh.
Sheriff.
I'm sorry.
Are you from the Appraisal District? Are you from the Appraisal
Are you the new
District?
chief appraiser?
No, I'm not. He didn't show. He was here the other day, so I guess he figured he didn't have to come.
Right.
So I submitted when we were going through our 6 weeks of meeting with the commissioners, I had submitted a tentative plan of buying a taser package. They got new technology out there, totally different product from what they had in the past. And they got a $227,490 price tag, but it can be paid out over 5 years, or all up front, or different combinations, as long as it's paid up by the end of 5 years. Had a plan to get the Spillman module, the IT stuff, for doing the e-ticket machines. So each car would be like the troopers. They can print it out right there, and then it uploads into the system for the JPs instantly, and so it's a whole lot better than them coming by and picking up the tickets and then having to type it in there. So streamlines everything. The machines are $18,250. This was a quote that we got, a couple quotes here a while back. And the module is $40,496.67, and then every year it's $5,535.92 for the maintenance on that.
What was the total on the equipment side of it?
$18,250. The module, $40,496.67. We talked about the vest a little bit yesterday, and then what we order would be under that bulletproof vest partnership grant, a federal grant, and I think I didn't bring that paperwork up with me, it's back there, $10,600 or something for what we needed to get reimbursed, but we have to buy it up front, get the invoice, put it into the system, and then they send a check after that. So, and the process of ordering takes a couple months, 6 to 8 weeks to get those in.
How much are they each?
$800 to $1,000 for a vest. Maybe I gave you that whole
You
package.
did, but I left it in my briefcase in the car.
Memorial Lane voted last night to get one for y'all and one for the police department. They find out how much they are, I bet they're not.
Yeah, the technology is improving, but then the cost is going up too. So the level 3As that we get, they're about $1,000. So.
Sheriff Deeds, here it is. I thought I had it in my car, but it's actually under my desk here.
They thought they could get both of them for $1,000.
Okay.
Not to the standard that we get. So $905 was a quote that we got a while back for a vest, and that's off a buy board. So just under $1,000. So, and we needed, this was all the county law enforcement that we keep a running total on when they are needed every 5 years, and so there's 19 of them needed. So, yeah, grant reimbursable for, based on that, $10,601.
That's just the reimbursement, right? The
That's
total,
just the
out, it was 22 or so?
Well, need 19 vests, the latest quote, 900, what did I just say? $905 each, and the grant has some remaining money in it, so that'd be reimbursable off of that, $10,601. And I think the reason it's that is because of what's left in that grant money.
Okay.
So 19 vests at $900 a piece.
Okay, I didn't know if there were, I thought there was something
That'd be 17,000.
other than just vests. I know the plates and the carriers and those kind of things, so I didn't know what all was.
Still researching.
Gotcha, okay, okay.
There's 3,500 still allocated for Bulletproof Vest in Fund 55, so I'd like to use that up for sure.
Okay.
3,500?
3,500.
And 19 vests would be 17,195?
Yeah, 905 times 19, so.
And 10.6 would be reimbursed someday?
10,601. Yeah, I can't remember what the time frame is. By the time we order the vest, get them in, then they invoice us, then we put the information into the system, then it's probably still another month or so after that before they send a check back. So it takes a little time to get part of that reimbursed, but at least it's partially reimbursed. So.
Just for curiosity, what is a ticket book, what's the price on ticket books, because they're, what, 3 carbon or 2 carbon now, what you're using?
3 carbon,
3.
But I don't have that off the top of my head.
And I understand, but if you go to the in-car ticket like DPS has, basically that's thermal paper. The only expense really, is going to be, paper is going to be cut, dramatically because you're going with thermal paper, to write the ticket rather than having the carbons, and everything gets recorded into the system and downloaded, I guess daily or at some point or automatically when they process the ticket. So, and evidently from what I'm talking with DPS officers, they've had extremely good luck with that, system in the vehicles.
Yeah, they've been doing it for a number of years.
Yes, sir.
And the JPs, we've talked to all of them, and they really love it with the DPS side of things because they got it. They don't have to go pick up the tickets and then have somebody type in all the information. They've got the information.
It's already
right
fed
there.
into it. So, I think, that right there is, not just a wish list, that's a good, need, because of, everything that it will provide to the, all the way from your office, all the way to the JPs, on that.
It streamlines a lot of things, and over the last few years with the racial profiling, now it's come to the point where it's going to be an automatic deal, hit a button and print it out once a year when we got to bring it before the court and then get it sent off to the state. And this is kind of the same things where it's an automatic deal getting it off to the JPs. Correct. So streamline a lot of things and help the flow of everything to make everybody's life a little better with everything else that's going on with their lives, so in their offices. So yeah, we've seen it out there. I think they've had the technology out there for probably 10 years or so, but yeah, it's time. It'd probably help us a lot. So then I know the money in there for the cars that she just brought up. I just went up there last week to see where they're at, and they said, well, it looks like they're going to get to those vehicles by in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So I figured maybe and then they said they could get them all, 6 of them done in a week, because they got amazing crews that just jump on that stuff. So maybe by the middle of July, we'll have some vehicles ready to go. But it's always a long time frame. You don't know when you're going to get new cars, so I'd put that on this too as far as ordering 6 more. So that's up to you guys, but and this was estimated cost from this last year, so $445,000 for everything for 6 vehicles. And then we'd asked for 2 additional pickups also, because the transport, the pickup works out really good for transport instead of getting a Tahoe, and they're a little bit cheaper. And with that crew cab, put them in the back like that and put any of their gear that they came with to jail and taking it to prison for them, or whatever extra essentials that they need to go to the mental facility. So the pickups are working out really, really well. So that was on there for $148,000 for 2. And then I also had 8 radios on there, but I'll take that off. That was about $60,000. So, and we still haven't, I haven't got anything new to report about the radio system. It's not complete, but it's getting really, really close. They keep wanting to go live with it and do the cut over to it. But then there's been some little glitches here and there, not because of us, but Harris, they build to military standards, and the company that's doing the microwaves, or done the microwaves, then they require a test of almost 100% perfection, and it's like 0.5, so off of that. So they're working to try to get that to that, and they assure me they can, and so hopefully we'll have things in place. They just got the encoder system put in the last couple of days into the computers in dispatch, so I think that's supposed to be up and running in the next week or so, so we'll be able to tone out for fire and EMS through the new system. So it's all coming together. And at one point they said maybe July 3rd. Well, that'd be a mess if we try to go live during a holiday weekend, but it's getting close. It's getting close, and it's going to be a fantastic radio system. So that's just an update on that. So.
And the sad thing is, a couple of years ago, we do 6 vehicles for $250,000, equipment, everything. It just blows my mind that that's doubled.
So that, last time I talked to Sean, he was they wouldn't let your staff hands on the radios. The city wouldn't. Has that been cleared up?
Well, we're still, we're not radio technicians, and so we have to, our radio guy, we've had to sign a lot of paperwork saying, yep, this guy's good enough to do it, and then it's got to get to Kenwood and Harris, and then they said, okay, it looks like you got everything ready to go. Oh, it's all back ordered. So we're waiting on some kind of, I think it's like a flash drive or something that they have to plug into the computer while you're on the internet on a laptop, so they can download the information, so they can authenticate the information and program the radio. So we haven't got it yet, so we can't do the fire radios yet, and that's getting kind of frustrating. I went down and met with the deputy chief at the city of Granbury, and he found out he couldn't do some of the stuff he thought he could do. So it's slowly getting everything worked out, and then, like I say, hopefully by the middle of the month we'll have everything ready to go, I hope. But we'll see. So, yeah, all the little things are getting worked out. It's been a little frustrating on a couple things, but I understand why from their side. Granbury's doing the system, so we have to ask them for permission. We're doing it all appropriately and signing agreements and getting it done, and so it looks like we're almost there. So anyway, thank you for your time, and sorry to be a burden on the taxpayers, but that's the cost of serving the citizens and keeping them safe, I guess. So
Roger, you have one item at $18,250, module at $40,500, and then vest at $17,500. There's sufficient money to do that now. If that's not a big expense, and if you can get that stuff, especially the vest, because of the lag time on trying to get them.
And that's what we talked about yesterday, that if Commissioner Samuelson, I gave you that paperwork, so she's got the quote, yeah, if we can get it put on the next,
Agenda.
the next Commissioners Court, then we can.
Because that's something we're
gonna do
trying to
that.
do, is get this
Yes.
stuff taken care of
Yes,
for
I
this
was-
budget year.
Yeah.
Since that we got that workers' comp refund.
That, and again, there's $1 million unallocated. Even if you buy the grinder, you still are in good shape. I still have $2 million budgeted that can go in there before the end of the year.
Okay.
So Fund 55.
Yeah, so I'm
is-
planning on putting this on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. And then this other stuff I've talked about today, that you had it all in your packets originally when we handed it out. So if you need copies, I can provide copies, but
And then the 5,000 maintenance, since Drew just walked over, the 5,000 a year maintenance for Spillman, that will go into Drew's software budget from now on, Becky?
Yes.
Okay.
all the Spillman stuff is under Drew's budget and purview, so that'd just be added to that, so. They do a great job of taking care of everything, and we do a great job of filling up the, you know, when I first became sheriff, we needed megabytes, and now we got, how many terabytes?
Yeah, we're almost to a petabyte, almost.
Yeah.
Almost, we're at like 800 terabytes.
If I petabyte.
I thought that was something only in the movies, but we're making it possible, so.
What comes after that?
I'll turn it over to Drew.
Gigabytes? Megabytes?
Well, I know Kevin, when I came up here yesterday, was really shocked at, you know, me not really asking for a whole lot, so I figured I'd come up here and shock him today. So I have two Fund 55 requests, of course. I did turn it in when I presented the court with my spreadsheet yesterday. It is time to start looking at replacing all of our network switches throughout the county. They go for about anywhere from 10 to 12,000 apiece, and we have 80 of them. So we are kind of sort of looking in the range anywhere from about $800 to $1 million. Now, luckily, the end of life is 2 years out, so we can start breaking this up in chunks. On that spreadsheet, I requested 200,000 up front, if we can this year possibly, maybe, to start replacing them. Then maybe do another 200 next year, so we can, again, slowly move through all of our switches throughout the whole county. Again, all the switches that are currently in the county, they're about 10 years old, so they have been normal lifetime. You know, it's just getting that time to start replacing them.
Said we have 80 of them?
80 normal ones, yes. There are a few bigger level 3 switches or layer 3 switches that cost anywhere from 50 to 100K a piece, and I'm saving those for last.
Okay.
The next item, the EOC, at the EOC, excuse me, the main EOC room where all the TVs are, that when an emergency goes down, everyone meets up there when we do all of our drills. That, believe it or not, is also 10 years old, that AV equipment, and it is slowly going out. And we've been kind of piecemealing it together over the years, and I would like to replace that as well. I do have one quote from AVI, the same company that did the refits for the Justice Center and all the courtrooms. Their quote so far is $125,000 to replace the main AV equipment and the EOC. I also have 2 more quotes that went out to 2 other companies. Of course, I'm waiting for those quotes to get back. But I did request 125, assuming it doesn't go higher than that. But those are my 2 Fund 55 items that I'm requesting. So a total is $325,000 this year, if possible.
God, 10 years goes by quickly, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. Because that AV equipment was put in when that building, the EOC, was built in 2013.
Just so I understand, when you said this year, you mean the one we're planning for, or are you asking for it this year?
Based on the comment with Ms. Kidd, if there is money this current fiscal year, we could get started this current fiscal year. If not, we can push it off
I just
another
wanted to
year.
make sure I had it in the right bucket.
You're all good.
And so, I don't know what who the other companies are, but I mean, just from working with you on trying to get the cameras working that were approved last July for this courtroom, I'm not too impressed with
We're still
their
waiting.
response.
We're still having an issue with one of them, yes.
Yes, so I'm not impressed with their workmanship or their response to your issues. It's been, I mean, the money was approved last July, and we're almost at July, and they're not working yet.
I understand.
Delay after delay, so maybe that, see who
The
the
other
other two
two.
companies are.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
That's it. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Anybody has any last statements? Ms. McCoy, I know you like to talk. Do you like to wind up anything? Okay, well, I guess that concludes the budget hearings for this session. Thank y'all all very much.